So I think I've drawn the short straw to start everything off. So hi everyone, I'm Steve Batt from Chorus. Just to set the scene a little bit, we are a IT services organisation specialising in managed services, cybersecurity and application development. So essentially we're doing technological and service-based transformation for our customer base. So I think there's been some really interesting points that have come up through the course of the day, and I think it echoes our feeling around a lot of it around attracting the right people into the organisation, the importance of culture, etc. To make sure you start to bring the right types of individuals in. I think what we're trying to focus on in this session is really then how you take that raw material and how you start to develop that and give people opportunity to shine, develop their careers, and how that's sort of aligned with your goals as an organisation. So really for me it's about creating a pathway for people. So there's a few different ways that we have looked to do this. It's something we are focusing on increasingly over the next few years. As an organisation, we're the first year into a 5-year pretty aggressive growth plan. So one of the biggest challenges for us going forward over the next few years is going to be about attraction, retention, development of staff. Realistically, are we going to be able to go into the market to fill up our senior roles that's going to come up? No, we're going to be in the same battle that everyone else is at the moment, and it's a difficult marketplace right now. So really we've got to try and develop our own talent. We've got to try and develop people within the organisation and give those opportunities to people to enter the organisation, almost a bit of an academy system, come up through with our cultures, the way that we like to do things, which we feel is at times unique from other organisations. So essentially there's 4 things that we put in place and like to focus on, which I'm just going to raise at a high level here, and obviously happy to take any questions as we go through afterwards. So the first thing is really focusing not on the people but on your organisation. So looking at how you operate, looking at operational maturity, looking at organisational design. You can put all the training in place, you can give all the right opportunity for people, but if your organisation isn't quite designed in the right way, if it's slightly dysfunctional, if the gaps between roles are too big, if all the cogs don't go together in quite the right way, you're going to find it really difficult to find the right type of people, because you're going to be looking for unicorns all the time. Those people who can plug gaps with heroic efforts and try and make things happen, when actually by design the organisation isn't quite working. So the first tip I'd give to anyone is make sure from an organisational design perspective, get it nailed down, get it absolutely spot on. Do you know what your roles are? Do you know what the skills requirements are for those roles? Do you have the right management structures in place? Do you have all of the cornerstones in place, a lot of which have been spoken about over the course of this event? Then go from there and start focusing on people. So looking at training and development. Take a multifaceted approach. So it's all well and good to have some standard training materials and say, look, we're going to do a lot of on-the-job training. Great, fantastic, accreditations, brilliant. But actually you need to do all of these things. So you need to look at how people will develop their own skill sets. You need to look at learning platforms, on-the-job training, coaching, mentoring, accreditations, formal certifications and courses and things like that as well. But mix it up. Make sure there's some variety, make sure people are getting that level of interaction, exposure, they get access to the types of technologies and things that they want to be working with, which is a crucial factor. Then what we try and do is tie that into personal development plans. So understand people's career paths, look at whether that's technical, whether that's leadership, whether that's even into sales and marketing side of things. And as a leader yourself, understand and be able to clearly articulate how someone gets from a junior level within an organisation to wherever their aspiration will take them. And make sure that you've actually got those things in place that will enable that. You can then put together a personal development plan that doesn't just focus on their current role, which is often the case, but actually starts to look forward to the next role. So as they start to get to the right level, great, fantastic, how do we start developing the next tier of skills? From that point, then it's all about exposure. So another mistake that often happens, because everyone's under pressure, is you promote someone and you hope they can do the role. Because actually they presented well at interview, you think they've got the right characteristics, skill sets, etc., but they haven't done the role before, so therefore it's pretty risky. So if you look at some things like Peter Principles, good example, core concept, people get promoted to their level of incompetence. If you're good at the job, you get promotion, you get to the next level, and so on. And that keeps going until actually you land in a job that you're particularly good at. So you're not going to get promoted from. By giving people early exposure through things like secondment, shadowing, just the opportunity to spend time with other people within the organisation doing something slightly different from their day role, you actually get to see how people are functioning. And it starts to de-risk it when it comes time to move people from one role to another. The fourth step then is really just about, once you've done that, coaching and mentoring. monitoring performance, making sure that you stay really close to people, understanding developmental needs, understanding how you want that person to operate within the overall structure and culture of your organization. So I think kind of taking that 4-stage approach gives you a pretty good framework to begin with. The only other thing I'd kind of add into that as a final point is really be clear about your intent and stick to it. I think that was raised in a previous session as well. If you're going to adopt a policy of promoting within, do that. Understand when you're not going to be able to do it. Be very clear with people within the organisation that if you actually haven't got someone who's quite ready to take a step, at that point you're going to go external. If there are very specific reasons to do it, but understand and articulate those reasons. Don't just go out to market automatically because you don't want to take a risk, you don't want to take a chance on an individual. If you do that and if you take a chance on someone, you take that risk, but you've got your recruitment processes right and you're bringing in the right quality of candidate in the first place, then actually, more often than not, that's going to reward you and that's going to pay off.
So yeah, I'm Lee, I'm from a company called Haboo. If you haven't heard of us yet, you soon will do. I always describe it as we're like Just Eat, but we also own the takeaways. So that kind of gives you an idea. We're a tech company, but we're lucky enough to own the fulfillment, the warehouses, the bricks and mortar people that do that. We're also not remote, so we're in the office. We currently run a full day in the office, 1 day at home. We've been very clear that our intent is to have a 5-day in the office as soon as possible. But we are very flexible. And this is where it comes down from that, it's not policies, it's about what you want to do. We're very incredibly flexible. You come in at 10, go at 4, doesn't matter. But the intent needs to be in the office. We're trying to build teams, right? And when you're building teams, I was saying this to someone earlier, the England team don't go away and play in the World Cup and just arrive on the day and go to their first game, right? They have to get together, they have to get to know each other. So building a team is what we really put our energy and our efforts into. And that doesn't just happen. So when we put the sort of myself and the other heads put a lot of effort into building the teams, making sure the teams work. So I guess when you talk about retention for us, it starts with the person, the team, and then the company. So it's what are the person's wants and needs? Do they have autonomy, purpose, and mastery, to quote someone quite famous? Do they fit well into the team? Is the team doing what they want to do? Are they happy with what they want to do? And then sort of on top of all of that, is the company going in the right direction? Do the company values match what they have? Does the vision of what we're trying to achieve go with what they want to do? I actually think a lot of it comes down to personally caring about people. And you can scale personally caring. It is possible. And how you do that is you filter that down for all the people. So as we've grown, obviously at the beginning, when I joined there was no developers, we had a team in Ukraine. Then we started hiring people, and now that's grown to 50 people. And what we push down all the way through is the personal caring. Get to know your people, really understand them. What do they want? What makes them tick? What actually do they want to do? So I give an example. Somebody bought a Nerf gun in, and that went just crazy, and everyone had Nerf guns. Before we knew it, it was Nerf guns everywhere. And that went so far we had to tone it back because suddenly you couldn't do anything for being shot in the head. So now that was something that grew organically, and we embraced it and we ran with it because that's what people wanted to do. Everything is driven by the employee as long as it meets in with our values. So I think the main thing we do is we don't have processes and procedures. We just give them people the freedom to do what they need to do. And we have an overarching mantra, which is do the right thing. And as long as you're doing the right thing, then you're welcome at Haboo. The people we've taken on recently haven't actually had the right skill set for us. They've been different developers. So we've taken them on because they're the right fit. And what does the right fit mean? Well, that's a really interesting question. It's not the right fit for the company, it's the right fit for a team. So we put them into teams. So we think about, someone comes to an interview and they're like, hey, this is me, and I'm slightly crazy and I wear silly shirts, and they go, Lee would be great in that team. And that's the way we approach it. And then they go into that team, and then we monitor and control that and see, does it work, we can move them around. And we're really, for us, it's all about the person and then the team, and then after that, the company. Some of the guys that have joined have actually taken pay cuts to join. So some of them have moved, some of them have refused massive counter offers because everyone's so desperate to retain staff. So it's something we're really proud of. It's something that's also really hard to just tell you exactly what it is. But yeah, that's Haboo, and that's what we're doing.
This is very interesting, and I share actually both views because they fit quite nicely in probably what I'm going to say. Generally, we see this, an employee joining Amdaris and moving on as a journey, right? So it has a start and it has a finish. And interestingly enough, we actually focusing on the finish. We're actually focusing on the exit, right? Because we want them to exit from Amdaris. We don't want them to stay forever, right? And by exiting, they will be better. They will be hunted by someone who needs them, right? And by having this approach, focusing on the exit, we invest quite a lot in the middle. Of course, obviously, recruitment is also a big investment because otherwise you don't have the entire process. And what happens in the middle is that part which actually both colleagues just described. There is a career progression, there is motivation, there is all sorts of flexibility, and so on. But when somebody leaves, actually that's the pride we're having. Okay, great. Who offered you a job? Oh, Microsoft. Oh, great. How much? Oh, £150,000 a year. Oh, great. That's exactly what we want. That's exactly why you joined Amdaris 5 years ago as a junior, right? And interestingly enough, they do come back. They do come back because they go a few years somewhere in Germany or somewhere else, and then they come back and say, you know what? Yeah, it was fun to explore something else, but actually I want to be here. But if we find the right balance where we can grab this talent, take them on a journey, and happily exit them, I think that's the secret of success.
I think that's a really interesting point. So I thought I had a slightly controversial view coming into it. Now, possibly not that controversial. A gentleman over there asked a question earlier on about when you're losing people, you're leaving people after investing a lot in them. And actually, I'm in the same camp as you. It's our duty as an employer to actually develop that individual. The value doesn't come from the fact that you're losing, oh no, you lost a valued member of staff. Of course, that's always a bit of a hiccup you have to get around. But the value that individual has given the organisation over their length of service, the fact that they've developed the skills, their abilities, etc. For that entire period, it's not about a point in time. It's over that whole duration of that interaction between yourselves and the employee within the organisation. Now, I think what I'm passionate about is making sure that is actually a two-way street. So that when that employee looks back at their time with you as an organisation, they know that you cared, they know that you developed them as an individual and you did everything you can. If there comes a time where there's a natural parting of the ways, then so be it. Actually, we've probably done our job at that point. And it's the right time for them to move on in their career.
It's a reflection of the result, because if somebody's hunting those guys, you're doing something right.
Absolutely. Yeah, often people say they're leaving for more money, but when you start to dig into it, are they? Or actually, were there other things at play? Did they not feel valued in the organisation? Did they not feel they're getting progression? I think if you buy into development of people within the business, there's two ways of people increasing what they're earning. One is just getting more for doing the same job, and the other one is progressing their career. And I think that's where we focus on. So we're trying to take someone and say, okay, great, you want to achieve more, you want to earn more money, fantastic. Let's figure out how you're going to do that. And it's not just by doing the same thing and just getting small increments over a period of time. Let's fundamentally look how we change that over a period of time. So we have a slightly different approach, which is working for us pretty well at the moment. But as all organisations, you constantly reevaluate what you do and try and make sure you've got the right people.